Harry's the best thing about the royal family in the last 40 years since his mum died, and she was the best thing before that. They need to understand they need him. Look at what he's doing. Listen, it's not our fault that the papers and the TV and whoever don't want to talk about what William and Kate's doing. Right? It's not Harry's fault, and this is what I'm saying. William and Kate has been sidelined, according to some people on your panel. Is that their fault? Did we put the news out there?
All right, Maria, thank you.
So all of a sudden, it's all Harry's fault.
In the often absurd theatre of daytime television, where opinions clash like poorly rehearsed pantomimes, a single caller on the Jeremy Vine show cut through the fog of royal sycophancy with the precision of a well-aimed dart. Look, it's not our fault the papers and the TV or whoever don't want to talk about what W&K is doing. It's not Harry's fault, is what I'm saying, the voice declared, laced with a mix of exasperation and quiet triumph. It was a moment of unfiltered truth amid the relentless churn of tabloid drivel, a reminder that even the most jaded viewers can spot the emperor's new clothes, or in this case, the threadbare gowns of a monarchy desperately clinging to relevance. This caller's epiphany wasn't born in a vacuum. It's the echo of a public sentiment that's been building for years, one that exposes the British media's willful blindness and the so-called king and queen in waiting for the anachronistic relics they truly are. Let's rewind the tape on this farce. Prince William and Kate Middleton, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, soon to be elevated to the pinnacle of a crumbling institution, embark on what should be a headline-grabbing jaunt to Brazil. There, William, ever the earnest environmentalist in his bespoke suits, lectures on deforestation while his family's carbon footprint rivals that of a small airline. The optics, a news reporter hoisted aloft like a human boom mic, capturing every strained smile and scripted soundbite. It's the kind of event that screams legacy building, a desperate bid to rebrand the Windsors as eco-warriors in an era when their private jets guzzle fuel faster than a tabloid print's falsehoods. Yet, what happens? Crickets. The coverage is perfunctory at best, a footnote in the endless scroll of Instagram filters and sponsored posts. No viral memes, no breathless think pieces, no flood of iconic gifs, just the faint whiff of irrelevance wafting from the palace press office. Contrast that with Prince Harry, the so-called spare who's long since outgrown the gilded cage. He steps foot in Canada, not even on official business, mind you, but in that effortless way he has of turning a casual visit into a global conversation. And suddenly, the world's antennae perk up. Headlines erupt like fireworks. Harry's charisma lights up the north. The people's prince returns. It's not contrived, it's organic, the kind of magnetic pull that no amount of media training or pearl clutching can fabricate. And why? Because Harry doesn't perform for the cameras. He simply exists in a world that craves authenticity. While William's Brazil trip feels like a corporate retreat scripted by focus groups, Harry's presence resonates because it's unapologetic. He advocates for veterans scarred by wars the royals once glorified, champions mental health in a nation that pretends stiff upper lips are a virtue, and builds bridges with communities the establishment deems too other to bother with. The caller nailed it. This disparity isn't Harry's doing. It's the media's failure, a collective shrug that reveals how out of touch the British press has become with the very public it claims to serve. But oh, how the tabloids twist this into a narrative of betrayal, as if Harry's success is a personal affront to the throne's heir. Enter Meghan Sussex, the lightning rod they've demonised since day one, her every move dissected with the fervour of a witch hunt. Address her properly, as Meghan Sussex, because that's who she is, a woman who married into this viper's nest and emerged not just unscathed, but empowered. The headlines scream it all without needing elaboration. Meghan's glow steals the show, or Sussex's outshine the firm. Because, let's face it, she embodies the future they fear. Poised, purposeful, and unyieldingly herself, Meghan Sussex turns red carpet appearances into masterclasses in grace under fire. While Kate Middleton recycles the same neutral palettes and hesitant waves, Meghan Sussex commands the room with a vibrancy that borders on revolutionary. It's not favouritism, it's physics. Charisma isn't rationed by birthright. It flows to those who wield it with intention. The British media, that self-appointed guardian of the realm, bears the brunt of this critique, and deservedly so. For decades, they've peddled a saccharine myth of royal perfection, propping up the Windsors as if they were benevolent deities rather than a taxpayer-funded soap opera. Remember the fawning profiles of Charles and Camilla, now king and queen consort in their ill-fitting crowns. Charles, the man who whispered sweet nothings to a houseplant on live television. Yes, that happened, a bizarre bid for relatability that only underscored his detachment. Reigns over a nation grappling with food banks and crumbling infrastructure. His environmental credentials, laughable, given the hypocrisy of royal estates devouring resources while he preaches restraint. And Camilla? The ultimate survivor of scandal, elevated not by merit, but by marital endurance. Her queenly role a reward for enduring tampons as love letters and a lifetime of side-eye. The media laps it up, churning out puff pieces that gloss over the adultery, the abuse allegations, the sheer banality of it all. It's a love letter to mediocrity, this coverage, one that vilifies anyone who dares to challenge the script. Then there's William and Kate, the king and queen in waiting, a phrase that drips with the irony of a sinking ship promoting its lifeboats. William, burdened by the weight of expectation and perhaps a few too many stiff drinks, whispers persist, though the press buries them faster than a bad poll, plods through duties that feel increasingly hollow. His earth-shot prize, a noble idea, co-opted into another photo-op for a family that jets to Balmoral while the planet burns. Kate, bless her, tries valiantly. Those early morning workouts and sponsored fashion lines a valiant stab at modern monarchy. But it's all so safe. She glides through engagements like a porcelain doll on a conveyor belt, her smiles as curated as her blowouts. A trip to a school or a hospital visit? Yawn. The public tunes out because it mirrors the tedium of the institution itself, repetitive, risk-averse, and utterly divorced from the grit of real life. The caller quipped about a houseplant overshadowing them, and it's no exaggeration. In a world of TikTok activism and grassroots movements, the Cambridges come across as relics from a bygone era, their work as engaging as a lecture on tax law. This isn't mere oversight, it's systemic rot. The British media's bias isn't accidental, it's engineered. Outlets like The Sun and the Daily Mail, those purveyors of poison, thrive on division. They amplify every Sussex misstep, whether real or, completely fabricated, while burying royal gaffes under avalanches of apology. Harry's Invictus Games, a triumph of resilience, yet somehow framed as a rival event to William's initiatives. Meghan Sussex's Archewell Foundation, pouring millions into humanitarian causes. Dismissed as Hollywood vanity by pundits who've never lifted a finger beyond a keyboard. It's classism wrapped in patriotism, racism cloaked as concern for tradition. Meghan Sussex, a biracial American actress who dared to love across lines the royals themselves have blurred for centuries, becomes the scapegoat for an institution terrified of its own obsolescence. The media doesn't just report, it manufactures consent, making sure the right royals stay elevated while the threats are exiled to Montecito. And let's not forget the king's role in this charade. Charles III, ascending the throne amid a pandemic and a cost-of-living crisis, promised a slimmed-down monarchy. Instead, we've got, more aides, more scandals, and honestly, more irrelevance. His coronation, a billion-pound spectacle of pomp and pageantry that felt like a funeral for the 20th century. The Queen-in-Waiting, Camilla, stands beside him, not as an equal partner, but as a placeholder, her history of marital wreckage airbrushed into matrimonial bliss. It's a betrayal of the very public that funds their extravagance, a tone-deaf display from leaders who, lecture on unity while their family fractures along lines of privilege and pettiness. Yet, in this mess, Harry and Meghan Sussex shine as beacons of what could be. Their impact isn't manufactured, it's earned. When Harry visits a children's hospital or speaks on the horrors of PTSD, it's not for likes, it's lived experience, forged in the Afghan dust and the shadow of his mother's death. The world sees it because it's real. The tears he wipes away aren't scripted. The hugs he gives aren't staged. And Meghan Sussex? She's the catalyst, amplifying voices from black maternal health to digital privacy, causes that hit home for millions the palace ignores. Their joint endeavours, the Netflix deals, the podcasts, the quiet philanthropy, generate buzz, not because of bias, but because they matter. While William's Brazil advocacy fizzles into forgotten press releases, Harry's mere arrival shifts conversations, proving that true leadership doesn't need a coronet, it needs heart. The caller's words linger because they puncture the bubble. This isn't about favouritism, it's about failure. The British media, in its zeal to defend the indefensible, has alienated the audience it claims to represent. The public, diverse, discerning, done with deference, flocks to Harry and Meghan Sussex because they see reflections of themselves, flawed, fierce, forward-looking. William and Kate, for all their polish, embody stagnation, a queen in waiting whose wardrobe choices dominate discourse while her country starves for substance. So, to the so-called king and his heirs, wake up. The houseplant isn't the punchline, you are. Ditch the private jets for actual policy, the photo ops for partnerships, and to the media puppeteers, your strings are showing. The era of unchallenged adulation is over. The world isn't biased against William and Kate. It's bored. Bored with the beige, the banal, the broken promises of a monarchy that's less fairy tale and more cautionary tale. Harry didn't steal the spotlight. It gravitated to him because, in a palace of pretenders, he's the genuine article. As the caller so aptly put it, it's not his fault, but it is yours, and it's high time you owned it.